The Vikings' offensive line is literally falling apart. Ryan Kelly, concussion protocol for the second time in 3 weeks. Michael Jurgens, thigh tendon injury. Brian O'Neill, knee injury. Donovan Jackson, wrist surgery. Christian Darrisaw, at least he's coming back. But look at the scenario. 5 starting offensive linemen have never played a single snap together this season. And now comes the worst part. The Vikings do not have a center available on the roster to face the Browns in London this Sunday. 0. No player who has ever snapped as a professional center is healthy. Kevin O'Connell is literally conducting emergency tests in the middle of the week in England. But hold on to this bomb that could turn everything upside down for the Purple Nation. A new center will make his debut this Sunday against the Browns. But this is not just any debut. We're talking about a player who has never taken a single snap as a center in his professional career. Not in the preseason, not in college, nothing. 6 years in the NFL, 60 games played, 4 college seasons. And in none of those moments did he play this position. Until now. This player has already played 3 different positions in his career. On Sunday, he adds a 4th to his resume, and it is the most complex of all. What would you do if you were Kevin O'Connell? How do you protect Carson Wentz against a Browns defense that is already tough with an improvised offensive line on international soil without being able to make normal roster movements? The solution O'Connell found is as bold as it is desperate, and you need to understand the magnitude of this challenge, because we're not just talking about a player changing positions. We're talking about completely redefining the identity of this offensive line just 72 hours before the most important game of the season so far. Ryan Kelly signed a 2-year, $18 million contract in the offseason to be the solution at center. 4 Pro Bowls on his resume, respected veteran, previous chemistry with Carson Wentz from Indianapolis. It looked perfect on paper. But Kelly now faces his 7th or 8th concussion in his career. He's lost count himself. Analysts are already publicly calling for Kelly to retire. The next concussion could be the last of his career. Analysts like Matthew Collar are making public appeals for him to consider immediate retirement. Retire, Collar said after the game against Pittsburgh. This has to be the end. Between playing football and having dementia at 60, you have to choose your quality of life. Harsh, but real. Michael Jurgens was the natural backup. He played in 3 of the 4 games this season, substituting for Kelly, but on Wednesday, he showed up to practice with a compression sleeve on his left leg. Thigh tendon injury. Did not practice Thursday, did not practice Friday, according to O'Connell. The hope is that he gets some work on Friday, but the chances are minimal. And the other starters? Donovan Jackson had wrist surgery. Brian O'Neill has a compromised knee. Neither is expected to play Sunday. Christian Darrisaw at least is coming back. But think about it. The 5 starters projected to start the season, Darrisaw, Jackson, Kelly, Will Fries, and O'Neill, have never, ever played together. Not a single snap. How do you build continuity like that? How do you develop timing, communication, coordinated protections? The honest answer? You don't. Blake Brandel is the name you need to know right now. 6 years in the NFL. 6th round pick of the 2020 draft from Oregon State, where he played exclusively as a left tackle for 3 seasons. Since arriving in Minnesota, he has become the Swiss Army knife of the line. Left tackle, left guard, right guard. 60 professional games on his resume. But center? Never. Not even in his freshman year of college. Brandel will be the tallest center for the Vikings in over 35 years, since 1988. Until Thursday in London, when he received his first snaps as the starting center with the first team. I've never played in a game, no, Brandel confirmed to reporters in England. But I've had plenty of practice snaps, luckily, whether on the scout team or in other situations. It's one of those things where I knew at some point there could be a possibility. And here we are. So I'm excited. Excited or nervous? Probably both. Because playing center is not just about blocking. The center is the quarterback of the offensive line. He identifies the blitzes, adjusts protections, communicates with the guards about who takes whom, and still has to execute the perfect snap, whether with the quarterback under center or in shotgun, at the exact timing, without disrupting the rhythm of the offense. Against the Browns, Brandel will face Malik Collins and rookie Mason Graham in the middle. 2 powerful physical defensive tackles who will test every snap of his. And there's another curious detail. At 6 feet 6 inches tall, Brandel will be the tallest center for the Vikings since Randy Rasmussen, who was 6 feet 7 inches in 1988. Can you imagine the different center of gravity, the blocking angle, the snapping mechanics? All of this Brandel has to master in less than 72 hours. With Brandel moving to center, the entire line reorganizes like a puzzle. Joe Huber, the undrafted rookie from Wisconsin, will make his debut as a starter at left guard. 12 offensive snaps in the entire season. 12. And now he will protect Carson Wentz's blind side against the Browns. Justin Skule takes over at right tackle in place of O'Neal. Skule has already shown his limitations when he previously substituted for Darisaw. Pro Football Focus was not kind with his grades. Now he faces another trial by fire. The Vikings only have 9 offensive linemen available for the game, including 3 from the practice squad. Walter Rouse, who should be just depth, may see significant snaps. Henry Bird and Vershawn Lee, both from the practice squad, are being hurriedly prepared. Bird has 8 career snaps, all on special teams. Lee is a rookie who played center at South Carolina, but is still completely inexperienced in the NFL. Matt Waletzko, a native of Cold Spring, Minnesota, was signed from the practice squad on Wednesday. 20 career snaps with the Cowboys. This is the depth the Vikings have now. On Thursday, O'Connell turned practice into a low-intensity walkthrough. On Friday, they returned with pads. But will 2 days of real preparation be enough? Never question their effort, Carson Wentz said about the patched-up line. That's one thing that has been constant, no matter who's out there. Even seeing different guys in the huddle today, they are focused and ready to compete. Wentz is saying the right words. But inside, he must be worried. Here's the truth no one wants to admit. This could be a season defined by injuries. The Vikings spent big money in the offseason to fix the line. Kelly Jackson as a first-round pick kept O'Neal, brought in depth. On paper, it was supposed to be one of the best units in the NFC, but football is not played on paper. 4 weeks into the season, the 5 projected starters have never played a single snap together. 4 weeks. 0 snaps with all 5 starters together. And now they head to London with a setup that looks more like a Tuesday practice than a Sunday game. The bye week comes after the Browns. If the Vikings manage to win, and it is a huge if, they will have time to heal. Kelly could return from concussion protocol. Jurgens could recover the thigh tendon. Jackson and O'Neal could progress in their rehabilitations. But if they lose, they go into the bye at 2-3, negative momentum, and all doubts about whether this team can really compete in the NFC will resurface. Never question the health of our players as the start, middle, and end of this conversation, O'Connell said about Kelly. We are going to follow the doctors, follow the protocol, and make sure Ryan is okay. This is not something I want to mess with, so we'll be smart. Words from a coach who knows that a wrong decision can end a career, or worse, a player's long-term health. So, here we are, Purple Faithful. Blake Brandel will make history on Sunday. Not the way he probably dreamed, but history nonetheless. 4th position in his career. First time as a professional center, in London, against the Browns, with everything on the line. It's about surviving and moving forward now. No one is asking for perfection. No one expects Brandel to become Ryan Kelly overnight. But competence, consistency, keeping Carson Wentz standing, that is the minimum required. And look, if you're a Vikings fan, you've seen worse. You've been through tougher seasons. This franchise has always found ways to compete when expectations were low. Maybe Brandel surprises. Maybe this patched-up line plays above expectations. Maybe Kevin O'Connell, the same guy who took a team to the playoffs with 37 different quarterbacks, finds another way to work magic with duct tape and willpower. Or maybe not. Maybe it's a long afternoon in London. But one thing is certain. Sunday will show what this team is made of when everything is against them. Thank you for watching and see you soon.